Lobes.
Here.
Bartleson. Here. Coretta.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, our police chaplain, Steve Benarsak, is here today to open us in a prayer.
Dear God, it's already been a week since we celebrated Thanksgiving, but may we never stop being thankful for what we have and what we've been given. And I just want to take this time to bring to you anybody who may be at this holiday season struggling financially, emotionally, family-wise, hard to get into the holiday spirit right now. I just ask that you would meet them where they're at, give them what they need, and let them know how much that you really love and that you care for them. And I thank you for all of our city council and the workers, everybody who makes this, helps this city work. It's run so well. We have been so blessed. I just ask that you would give them guidance and direction and wisdom as they make decisions tonight in this meeting. And again, I thank you for the safety that our first responders, our fire personnel, paramedics, police, that the safety they've had, that they're safe out there when they go on calls and that nothing has happened to them. And when they go on calls, I ask that you would give them the words to say and the right things to do to help the people in need. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Amen.
Thank you, Steve. All right, before we get into things, our liaisons, we have any reports to bring?
I just need to announce that due to the fact that a lot of the entries for the beautification recognition came in a little late, so we're now going to postpone instead of, it was supposed to be tonight actually. So we're going to postpone that to our January, so we're going to do Halloween, fall, and the holiday lights all at one time.
All right, sounds good. So we'll do it in our January meeting.
Yes. in
Okay.
Our, first January meeting.
All right, very good. Anything else?
And then just a reminder, this upcoming Sunday at the Roxy is a fundraiser for Lockport Love. It's $5 a ticket, and it supports the families in need in town. This will be at 2 o'clock and at 5 o'clock this Sunday at the Roxy. Come on out and enjoy the show and support a good cause at the same time. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. And while you're here, you can also go down to the Illinois State Museum. They're opening up their new exhibit that same day and same time. So you just walk down after you guys are done and check that out. All right, anybody else? All right. So tonight we have something interesting. Yes, we have our Lockport High School Robotics Club here to do a presentation.
Oh, no, middle school.
How come this is high school? Well, I didn't understand because you said your daughter was in it, and I was confused. But that's even better. So it is, because I like you guys getting acclimated to this kind of thing early. So who wants to come introduce this for us? All right, young Peretta. So just explain the competition just a little bit. And I know you guys have a time limit for your presentation. That's fine. But aside from that, we just want to hear what's going on.
So this Saturday, we will be going to our competition, and we've been working every Wednesday at the Lockport Library coding robots and researching for our presentation, and we'll be judged on our core values and how well our code works and our teamwork abilities. Like, we all wore matching shirts today to show our teamwork. You know. Would you like to add anything?
No, I think you got it.
So that's with the robots, but how is that related to this? This seems separate.
So the whole purpose is to get us to be thinking about innovating our whole community. So for our presentation today, we have come up with some ways to help our community. And that was the whole theme of this year's competition.
All right. You guys ready to rock and roll?
Yes.
So now, do I need to time you because you have like 5 minutes or something? No, not that. I don't want to sit here all night, but I'm saying that I think you guys have rules, right? So you guys got to try to keep it a time limit?
I think we'll be good. We don't need a timer today.
Got it? All right. You want us to have sour faces?
And we're judges.
Okay. No, go ahead. Fire away.
Good evening. My name is Julie Peretta,
And my name is Alyssa Kahn.
and we are two representatives from the Innovative Swans Lego Robotics team. So before we begin our brief presentation, we'll like to play a little guessing game with you guys. I am from Lockport.
I'm from Homer Glen.
Now guess, which one of us two has the safest way to walk on foot to our high school in Lockport?
Probably Homer Glen.
Is this a trick question?
Depends where you live in Lockport or Homer, but. Lockport.
In fact, it is Alyssa, who lives in Homer Glen. She has a 23-minute drive, but she has a safer walk to our Lockport High School.
I live in a neighborhood about a 2-minute drive from the Homer Junior High School, and it is not safe for me to commute by walking to that high school, which is right down the street. Yet, due to the recent construction on 159th Street, I now have a safe way to walk because of the additions of the bike paths and the sidewalks on both sides of the street.
So this is a problem that's happening all around our nation, where students have like a 2-minute drive to their school, but they're not able to walk there safely. So we would like to ask you guys in Lockport to start by taking the step in the right direction to help fix this problem. Together, we have 7 members of our team, and we are 7 girls who represent 6 different school districts. None of us have a safe way to walk to our junior high because there's no sidewalks and we have to go into the streets, or like the sidewalks have like some missing patches. So we would like to bring to you the attention to the dangers of not having safe ways to walk to and from school.
And some school districts do have safe transportation by bus, but that's not the case for some other school districts, including Lockport's very own Taft Middle School.
And we have a representative from the school who brought this to our attention. This is Avery. So because of family situations or where a student lives, they may not be able to get a car to ride to school as an alternative to a bus, causing them to have to bike or walk to school every day.
And on top of the students, the lack of sidewalks discourages pedestrian and bike traffic of all ages. And walking or riding your bike or even running on sidewalks can be a great way to get in touch with nature and to exercise.
Some students from Taft have to walk through the intersection on 17th and Lawrence. There is no crosswalks there, and I personally walked there, and it was very hectic getting through that street. I can't believe some students have to walk there every day. It was very nerve-wracking.
So let me understand you, the sidewalks are there, but not the crosswalks. Is
Well,
that
there
what I
was-
saw in the picture?
In that picture, there was no sidewalk connecting from, like, there was a house there.
Okay, all right, I didn't want to blow it up, I was just trying to understand.
on different slides, I have pictures.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Julie, please.
Nearly 5,000 Americans are killed each year while being a pedestrian walking around their town.
And areas with paved sidewalks are 88.2% less likely to be crash sites than those without sidewalks. And for the Taft School District, a lot of those roads are without sidewalks, making them 88.2% more dangerous.
Loss of life during motor vehicle accidents among children ages 5 to 14, which is the age range of students who will go to Taft, was 4 times greater than death rates from cancer or other illnesses. So tonight, we would like our proposal to be for you to add sidewalks near areas in Taft School on the streets of Lawrence Avenue, East Street, and 18th Street.
Now, those streets are highlighted in the picture you see, and there is also a program that a lot of school districts and roads and towns are implementing called the Safe Routes to School program. It not only focuses on the on the safety benefits, but it also focuses on the health benefits of students walking to school every day.
We are aware there is an upcoming construction near the Taft School District area, but although it is putting in new sidewalks, it is not covering all the areas that do not have sidewalks already. This is a map of the Taft School area district boundary that is highlighted in orange, and the blue shows streets that have sidewalks on only one side, while the red shows streets with no sidewalks at all.
Now, this map is very colorful, and we're proposing here today that we just want to make it less saturated and less colorful.
We would like you guys to take the step in the right direction to try to fix these problems. Some benefits to adding sidewalks would provide access for all to travel by being a pedestrian to all parts of the town. So people would be able to walk outside from the house who live in downtown Lockport to the local stores.
And sidewalks make people's lives healthier and more in touch with nature, mentally and physically. So that would be a great benefit for the community as a whole.
Sidewalks also improve pedestrian safety and reduce accidents. Though it is expensive to build sidewalks, there are many ways to get needed funds.
For example, Will County was awarded a $75,000 grant in 2012 to construct sidewalks near a school in Lockport called Fairmont School.
We know that Lockport is taking some really good steps already to try and fix these problems, but there are still some spots we need to fix. Like the construction near Taft in 2019. They did add in some sidewalks, but we're still not quite there yet. And same with the construction that will be happening in 2020. We still have some spots that need to be filled in.
And there was a sidewalk replacement program that started and ended here in Lockport, and we're looking to get something similar started again to build sidewalks in the Taft School District.
Again, that program started and ended. We would like to continue to take more steps in the right direction to try and help our community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Well, bravo, ladies, very good. All right, so now you guys will take this down to Naperville?
Yes.
On Saturday? And
Yes.
all right, I heard it's a lot of people competing, right? So,
Yeah.
well, you guys did very well, and all that drama's paid off. Julie, you sounded great, and both of y'all did a wonderful job, so nice slides, good work. All right. Did you want any responses from us, or just,
Well, I can jump in a little bit, just where we are familiar with the Safe Routes School Program. We were awarded one of those, I think, by Kelvin Grove a few years ago, and we certainly can take some of these ideas and implement them into our future grant programs. We do budget, I don't know, Brent, 100,000 or more a year for additional sidewalks in the area, and sometimes one of the challenges is the residents sometimes don't even want the sidewalks, but as long as they're in the right of way, we can usually put them in. But the other thing we can do is, about 6 weeks ago, I think it was, we had a bike path plan that we presented, and so I'm gonna share this with those consultants as well, and we can see if we can try to infuse some of these ideas, and absolutely, I think all of us would love to add more sidewalks wherever it's appropriate, so good job, thank you.
Thank you.
all right, ladies, be good. Good luck. All righty.
All the parents, they don't have to stay, yes or anything?
No, you're locked in now. Close those doors. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. What do you got there?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, the first item of business is CA1. It's a personnel policy update. Just wanted to clarify, I had a few emails and questions. This pertains to the employees, not the elected officials. And actually, I put a hard copy of a proposed ordinance 19043 as a supplement on your dais tonight, because after talking to Sunny and Maggie's going to come up and do, there she is, she's going to do a presentation for us about a lot of the changes. We're recommending to pull this out of the city's muni code. There's really no requirement to have it part of the municipal code. And so we're going to we'll be bringing a resolution with this ordinance on December 18th, but the policy could be a separate document. It doesn't have to be codified in the city's code of ordinances. This allows us to have the flexibility to make changes and not have to go make the updates online and everything. So we'd like to do that. And I know that, here's my memo here. This has been updated probably back in 2007 and 2015. Maggie's going to go through all the major highlights. I want to thank her. She spent a lot of time on this. Lisa and Sunny also spent a lot of time on this. And a lot of these are responding to laws and things that are changing, but there's some good implementations in here for best practices and things that we wanted to improve. So with that, I can just turn it over to Maggie.
All right. Thank you, Ben, Mayor, and members of the council. The city's personnel policy, as Ben stated, does apply to all individuals that are hired by the city as an employee. Numerous reclassification changes were made to the policy in order to provide better guidance and clarification to our employees. Additional updates to the policy related to amendments to and adoptions of federal and state legislation. Legislative updates consisted of the following: amendments to the FLSA employment classifications, amendments and adoption for workplace harassment, amendments and adoptions for alcohol and substance abuse. This would also include the legalization of recreational cannabis, as well as the addition and adoption of the following legislative acts. religious holidays, the Illinois Family Military Leave, paid voting, VESA, school visitation rights, as well as nursing mothers in the workplace. Next, I would like to discuss some of the major changes that were made to the policy. If you notice in section 7.2, the main change to this section involves, in the event of separation from employment during the up to 2-year time frame, the employee would be obligated to reimburse the city a certain percentage of the tuition reimbursement they had previously received. Educational incentives. In the 2015 policy revision, it stated that any employee hired after July 1st, 2015 would be ineligible for that benefit. So we are now recommending to remove that from the 2019 policy in its entirety. Section 9.4 is our new paid leave donation. This policy was created to serve as a depository for eligible and participating employees to donate their unused and available paid time off, sick vacation, and/or personal time to another employee. The purpose of this was to alleviate the hardship caused by a serious health condition that forces the employee to exhaust all eligible paid leave time. Section 10.4 was our compensatory time. This section has been updated to reduce the maximum number of hours as follows. Maximum accumulation of hours has been reduced from 96 hours to 40 hours. The maximum annual carryover of hours has been reduced from 45 to 40 hours. Another addition is a section 12.4 for exit interviews and section 12.5 for reimbursements and return of city property. Both of these sections have been added for the following reasons. The employee to be aware of when their benefits will be terminated, any expenses that they may owe to the city, as well as an opportunity for the city to better understand if the employee felt they were properly trained, what they liked versus disliked about their job, and suggestions for improvements for us in the future. A checklist has also been created to make sure all city property is returned and all city-related passwords have been provided. Lastly, the longevity award, which is just like the educational incentive, was changed in the 2015 policy. We are now recommending to remove that as in its entirety from the 2019 policy. And then going forward, it's been stated we will be reviewing the policy on an annual basis to make sure that we are keeping up with any of the legislative amendments or adoptions. Does anyone have any questions?
I would just add to the point of the policy being changed in light of the cannabis legalization that occurred on January 1st. There was a recent trailer bill that was approved in which specifically addressed police officers, sworn officers. They cannot consume, purchase, or use cannabis on or off duty. That was one of the things that the act was not originally clear on. That's clear, and that's reflected in this draft of the policy. It also requires that anyone with a CDL, they also are prohibited from using cannabis on or off duty. All the other employees, because cannabis is considered to be similar to alcohol, there is a state statute regarding privacy of employees, and that will mean that the employees, if they're not sworn officers or CDL holders, they do have legal right to use cannabis in their home, as long as they're not, obviously under the influence of cannabis or impaired while they're on, their jobs and their position. So that's one of the changes that were made. The other, I think we addressed this when we adopted the sexual harassment policy, is that from January, I think effective by June 30th, all the employees would have to go through sexual harassment, anti-sexual harassment policy training, and that's being planned right now.
Yeah, that's something that Sunny and I have already been working on getting that together.
Okay, any questions, thoughts? Okay,
All right, so
thanks for all your work. Is this something we need to
Yes.
put on for?
December 18th, I mean, consent's fine, there's no changes. but-
Or I would recommend, actually, because there has to
Oh,
be
yeah.
a separate resolution that would approve the policy, because it's a standalone document. At the same time, the ordinance will repeal what's currently under Chapter 36, so we don't have to amend it and every time that there's some
Bring
changes.
a resolution
Yep.
for an action item for the ordinance change that adopts these changes, yeah.
All right, action it is.
Thank you.
All right, there.
Thank you very much.
Next item, Mayor, members of council, is the appointment to the International Code of Council of Board of Appeals. We've had a situation where several of our committees have had their terms, they should be staggered, and we're going to be correcting that as we go forward. But we also had a situation where one of the members for this has moved out of town, and we needed someone to serve. This is not a committee that meets very often, but when it does, we want to have people at the ready. So at this time, we're recommending that we replace Tom Sperling with Ray Sugg and let him finish that term of April 1st, 2020. We have several members that are good until 2022. I think there's about 4 people that are good until 2020. I think when we come back to replace those or confirm those in 2020, in the spring, we'll have some of those be staggered to 2021 and then others to 2023. So we'll get back on that cycle of having at least several members rotate off each year or be reconfirmed. But right now, we're just seeking to approve the resolution 19140, which is appointing Ray Sugg. I know that Darren and Steve had talked to Ray, and if you want to kind of speak to his background a little bit, I mean, he's got some good background for this kind of role.
I've known Ray for many years. Ray's a retired journeyman electrician, 40 years electrician. He was the electrical inspector for Crest Hill for 16 years. He's now retired from that too. I think he's a good choice.
Okay. Anybody have any other thoughts? We good?
And that would be certainly available for consent if we're
All right.
good with that, so,
Good with consent here. All right, thank you.
thank you.
All right,
Next item, Tony?
AT1.
So, Mayor, members of the City Council, item 81 is an amendment to Chapter 134 of the City Code, basically to line it up with the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act that passed earlier and signed into law earlier this year. So because the current code prohibits, actually makes it an ordinance violation for anyone to possess 10 grams or less of cannabis, that would be in direct contradiction with the Cannabis Act. So therefore, we're amending Chapter 134 to basically make it an ordinance violation that could be ticketed for a violation of the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. So somebody who maybe is underage and, having that 30 grams or less, that would be an ordinance violation. Obviously, if it's a criminal offense, nothing in the ordinance would prevent the state's attorney's office from prosecuting any cannabis-related offense that rises to the level of a criminal offense. So if there's any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
You got anything? I think it's fine for consent then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Then we'll put it on consent, please.
thank you.
All right, FN1.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and members of the council. We have 2 resolutions in front of you today. One is for the property and liability insurance. We're up for our annual renewal. Unfortunately, our increase is 9.7% for this year. This increase is being seen throughout the country. There's severe weather events that are happening all over the place, and the market is really approaching this in a way that it's affecting everybody's rates. So we're looking at a premium for the year of $253,000, but looking to stay with the same carrier that we have right now, which is Argonaut Trident. The second policy we have in front of you is a workers' comp policy, also seeing a 10% increase. Part of this is due to us adding some staff this year and payroll increases, but we're looking at a premium of $249,000 for that one. Maggie's been working really, really hard with bringing our premiums down and has had some success. Back in 2017, our property liability insurance was about $289,000, so we're still shy of that. But you can see what the workers' comp, losses were over the years and the premiums and where those have been. But this is really the best we can do at this time. The third thing that we have for consideration is something that's new. It's an optional policy. It's not something that we budgeted for, but it is something that the carrier is bringing in front of us to consider. It's called a crisis prevention policy, and this is for public entities that are facing active assailant workplace violence and assault and bomb threats, and those types of items. I do have Ryan Doyle, who is our broker from Gallagher, here if you have any questions about that optional policy. Again, it wasn't something we budgeted for, but if you feel this is the time that you would like the city to consider that, it's an extra $28,000 on top of what we were proposing.
All right, thoughts, questions?
I'm just curious, on 2013, 2014, and 2015, the premiums, or the losses, I should say, were so high. What was happening then?
We had a number of employee accidents and issues that were going on, and that's one of the things that Maggie has worked so hard to do, is to make, she's created a safety committee at Public Works, and she's working to do something with the PD as well. And we actually have our Public Works Department, so proud of them. They're coming close to a year and a half, oh, knock on wood, with no accidents.
Wow.
They have entirely bought into this program. They've worked really hard with Maggie. They have an incident, they meet, they talk about it, they address it. So we are really taking such a proactive approach. And again, I want to thank Maggie for that. This was her idea. It's something she has worked really, really hard on with our staff to continue to keep our premiums down. And, you know, even though the market is out there and the increases are there, there's not, you know, we're doing what we can do here to keep our costs down. If our premiums and our losses were way higher, we would see premiums beyond that, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, just amazing, yeah. Very good.
So, any interest in this optional policy, or do we kind of want to wait and see and consider this again for next year? And
You guys have opinions on this?
I would have an opinion on it. I would think it's a good idea.
you think we should take it?
Yes.
Okay, even though we didn't budget for it?
Market, you know, with things that are going on in the world today, to not have protection for that would not be a prudent thing. I think we should. For that price, it doesn't seem to be extraordinarily high. Yeah.
Is it an umbrella?
No,
what
it
is
should
it?
be under the umbrella, correct?
It's actually a separate policy, so it's not a liability policy, which would be underneath your umbrella. It's a standalone $2 million limit to cover such things. You know, if you look down, you know, any type of response, so counseling services in the event of a active assailant, whether it's a shooter or someone driving their, you know, former resident of Homer Glen, so thank you for letting me be here, and an honor to be here. But you know, you have Canal Days and a couple of your events that go on. We're just seeing across the country just an increase and spike in this type of activity, whether it's shooter, assailant, you know, vehicle, knives, just, you know, people wanting to disrupt the peace in general. So this not only helps protect against those type of attacks and responding, but it provides counseling services, investigation services, PR responses. If the building has to be, you know, someone comes in here and an active shooter comes into the building, if they shut down the building for a certain time period to reconstruct the building, business income that's lost with any of our own buildings being shut down, all those get wrapped up into the policy in a blanket limit of $2 million. So outside of the liability, outside of your property coverage, it's a standalone policy.
So if something like this happens and we don't have it, how is it not covered? You guys just, on our regular policy, say, sorry, we don't cover that.
The additional costs, you know, bringing counselors to, you know, your liability is covered. So if a third party's injured, you know, if I was in the crowd and I was injured because of the accident, I could sue you because of a third party bodily injury due to, that's covered underneath your liability. Very hard to prove negligence, very hard to pay out anything. So now me as a person who's injured, I really have no form of recourse. This provides the medical costs for me, additional counseling for myself and my family if they've done any third parties that are affected by this, that cost is picked up as well.
Is business interruption part of that?
Yes.
We
And then part of business interruption, also restoration. So we've been working on this policy, Gallagher, after Sandy Hook. It was initially called violent malicious acts, and if you recall Sandy Hook, when the shooter came in there, they reconstructed the entire building. You know, they were able to do that due to the goodwill nature of some donors. You know, it cost about $2.2 million to redo that. So if we needed to redesign this building so, you know, members of the council and staff weren't reliving the same event, walking through the same hallways, part of that restoration and reconstruction is covered by this program as well, too.
Is there any deductible on that?
There is a deductible, $10,000 deductible, and incident response. 2 hours.
2-hour incident response.
Part of the cost, so outside of coverage, you do get access to a portal online to help build, along with your police and your first responders, you can, there's 4 facets of a crisis: anticipate, prepare, respond, and recover. So anticipate, you'll get email updates, or you can sign on to scroll through over 800 different categories that are covered by this type of event throughout 190 countries to see what's going on throughout the world. That helps you prepare, which leads into the next step. Part of that prepared response is, building a security program. You can see real-life examples of real-life municipalities or school districts or public entities that have gone through this. What did they do? What was the crisis they faced? How they responded? Lessons they learned from it. Part of that, you get to call, a 24-hour expert and do some triage. You ask the what-if questions. Well, if this happens, you run through that decision tree. Well, if this happens, yes or no. If yes, do this, and you can build that out with all of your staff and everyone else within the city here.
Ryan, could you speak to the council as to maybe what percentage of your municipal clients or Gallagher's municipal clients are taking this policy on this year?
Sure. So this policy is brand new this year. It was called violent assailant coverage or violent malicious acts, depending on which form. Of our Gallagher clients, a lot of our public entities from the school district sides have been purchasing it. A lot of municipalities are considering it this year. We are presenting it to every municipality that we have. I know a couple counties are considering it. A couple municipalities I've already presented to. We're waiting to hear the final decision on their board meetings. But as of right now, I would say probably over 200 school districts have purchased it. Several counties are considering it, and of the municipalities we work with, I'd say over 40 are considering it as well too. That's just here in Illinois. Not to mention, we work with thousands, tens of thousands of public entities across the nation.
All right, anybody else have any questions
I
about it?
think it's a good idea. Why don't we just bring it back? Bring it as an action item instead of as a consent agenda item.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Are there any exclusions to what a payout might go for?
There are exclusions. I don't have those readily available to you. Actually, there's some in here. Sexual assault is not included. While that can be a traumatic event, that is not usually on the scale of what this is providing. But it's pretty broadly written to cover, in the event that any 2 or more individuals are injured during a crisis or active assailant event, terrorist threat.
So it would cover then terrorists and
terrorism
like act
is-
of war. I mean, sometimes there's exclusions in a policy saying if this happens, and so there's no exclusions like that.
Terrorism is covered through this. The bionuclear is not, but the active assailant and threat and death is covered. But bionuclear is not, but every other form of terrorism is covered.
So are you talk about, you said schools, so I don't know if Lockport High School is one of your colleague or clients or not. Do you know if they are being approached? Is this something they are looking to
They
as
have,
well?
they're in one of our pools that is looking to purchase it. I can't confirm if they have, but I know they've been approached by it. And I would.
And that would be like the same amount of coverage, or does it shrink for a school compared to a city?
No, it'd probably be about, close to $1 million or $2 million limit, depending on which option they chose. We presented a $2 and $3 million option for the village here today, or for the city here today.
What if we
So
take it?
if the event happens at the school, why is the city liable, or is it the?
It would be the school.
It would be the school.
We're liable for our events.
Our
and
events.
And our location.
So basically, we're talking canal days.
Canal Days or city government, as.
All right, I mean, it could be.
What's the incremental cost for the 3 million?
Does it cover when we did the fireworks at the Park District?
Yep. If it,
But that's at the Park District's location.
Park District, yeah.
So does it matter if we're just there, or where is the fine lines then? Because that's actually a good question.
It's defined as any city event, city-owned event, or if we're involved or we're co-sponsors of a particular event, we can extend coverage to that. As long as we're involved in some way, shape, or form, we can most likely extend coverage.
I think as long as we notify you of that event and we would like that event
Yeah,
covered,
if there's a
right?
case-by-case, I mean, broadly written for everything, if there's a case-by-case scenario that we want to make sure we're covered, we can definitely address that with the carrier, make sure there's coverage, one way or the other.
Any other questions?
What was the incremental cost for 3 million of coverage? Just so we
Go
know
up
it.
to 3 million, sorry. So proposed in front of you for the 2 million is 28,270. To go to 3 million is 35,832.
It's on page 40 of the proposal in the packet.
It's about a $7,000 difference for $1 million.
Yeah, per year.
All right, friends, well, I think Darren's suggestion is good. We'll do property and liability and workers' compensation on consent, and then we can, and what's the name of this other insurance?
Crisis protection.
Crisis, and we'll do crisis prevention as a action item. Okay. Anybody else have any last questions for the Gallagher folks? We good? Okay.
That was informative. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, budget amendment.
Yes, thank you. So I'm looking to put in front of council the amendment for the 2019 budget. So it's some cleanup, things we've talked about. Certainly most of it's been approved already at council, but we just need to clean this up for budget purposes. So I'm just going to quickly go over some of those areas. The first one I wanted to talk about was the police pension. Every year we get an actuarial report that tells us how much needs to be paid in. We don't usually get that until April or May of the next year. So budget's done and approved by council, 6 months prior to us getting that actuarial number. So what came back this year in the actuarial report was looking for an additional $60,000. If we don't pay that in, it gets amortized over, the next 10, 11, 12 years. And, so it's just better for us to go ahead and pay that. So I'm not looking to pay anything extra into the pension plan this year, just bringing us up to what the actuary is asking of us. So it's bringing it up to 1.57 for our pension costs. Building and development, you guys know, have been incredible this year. We have had a lot. We've had a lot of permit revenue, thankfully a lot of engineering, inspection review revenue, but at the same time we've had a lot of consultant expense. So we're looking to adjust the budget to increase those revenues and also to increase those expenses for the consultants that we use throughout the year. And we're happy to say, it's been very active this year in the building and planning department. Next is some cleanup, motor fuel tax fund and capital projects fund. We had projects that we thought were going to finish up in 2018 that didn't, so we didn't budget for them in 2019. We need to roll those funds over, acknowledge them. We're paying for them in 2019, so we need to amend the budget to be able to take care of those types of things. Plus, we did some reclassification. We were going to use capital funds for certain projects, and we ended up using MFT for them, so we just need to do some cleanup in those areas. TIF, we had additional consulting work that we brought on for the Makers Park. We had revenue that we brought in for that, but we also had some consulting expense, so we want to capture that in the TIF fund. And then we also had additional property tax revenues, which also increased the distributions we have to give back to those taxing bodies. So I'm looking to amend that area as well. So those were, the main areas I wanted to talk about, but everything is in front of you there that we're looking to amend for the year. So we're seeking council's approval for that.
All right, thoughts, questions? Saw a scrunchy face down there. Any, you all good? Okay. All right, then we're good with consent? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right, Chief, what do you got?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, PD1 is a purchase of 3 squad cars. PD2 is a purchase of 1 detective car. The reason we're ordering them in advance now is because we still haven't got one of our 2019 police cars that we ordered. So we're ordering them a couple months in advance of what we would normally order. So PD1 is the purchase, we're requesting to purchase 3 Ford Interceptor police cars. We would be spending $67,228 from budgeted capital funds and $33,614 from federal asset forfeiture funds, and our asset forfeiture account is very healthy right now. We'd be purchasing them through the Suburban Police Cooperative. We also checked with the state bid, and the Suburban Cooperative was $1,500 per vehicle less. PD2 is a purchase of 1 unmarked Ford Explorer for our detectives. That car would be costing $33,616, and that would come from our asset forfeiture account as well. So we'll be purchasing all these vehicles for $67,220 from capital and $67,000 from our federal asset forfeiture fund. Again, both through the Suburban Police Cooperative. So PD1, we'd be asking to purchase these vehicles not to exceed $105,000. PD2, we'd be asking to purchase one vehicle not to exceed $35,000.
All right, crew, questions, thoughts, concerns?
Who's getting that investigations car, Terry?
Excuse me?
Who's getting that investigations car?
Patrick Ellenson, the new detective. It was going to go somewhere else, but we decided to change it.
Okay.
Okay, it's all stuff in our last year's budget, so we all good? To consent on these? Okay. You okay? Is anything up?
The only concern I have is why can't the public get the same deal?
Yeah. Mercy. All right. PW1, what do you got, Brent?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Only item this evening, PW-1. This is for the full release of the letter of credit for Mod Pizza and Chipotle. This is Lot 8 of Lockport Square. As always, this full release that we are requesting this evening would be contingent upon the city receiving the 12-month maintenance guarantee from the developer in the amount of 10% of the original bond amount. This is resolution number 19-139, and again, this is for the release of the Lot 8 of Lockport Square bond in the amount of $488,507.91, contingent upon the receipt of the 12-month maintenance guarantee from the developer in the amount of 10% of that original bond amount, and we would request that this be put on, considered by council, consent if possible.
All right, any concerns about it? All right, thank you, Brent. Yeah, we'll put it on consent then.
Thank you.
All righty, any new business, miscellaneous kind of stuff?
I have a new business item. We were made in 2015, we were made a Tree City USA city. I know that's kind of redundant, by the National Arbor Day Foundation. And I haven't noticed anything of late in terms of proclamations. I wonder if we could get back into the swing of things, get some signs posted that we are a Tree City USA, maybe re-up with the membership in that. You know, talking to Ben, talking to Brent, that we meet all the qualifications behind the scenes already. So I would like to see us promote that more throughout the city.
Sounds good to me. I mean, it's obviously a selling point to be a tree city. People like trees.
We also have our tree preservation ordinance with development as well. So, and like Brent had mentioned earlier tonight, that we already follow all the guidelines. We just haven't been bringing the paperwork to you to formally approve a proclamation. We used to do it around Arbor Day, and actually Brent's got the plaque behind him. Mary's ready for tonight. So we'll have that on the agenda for you soon.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mark. Anything else? All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion.
Okay, I think I heard Larry,
On there,
and then,
by there.
where'd that, by there. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Boom, boom, ba-dum, boom. All right, whenever you're ready, Kathy, we'll wait for you.
Give me 2 minutes here.
Talk quiet.
Yes, he has a very good, steady, not my crazy Bernie Sanders thing, man, yeah. So,
With that, can I do roll call now?
yes, please.
Okay.
Roll call for Bernie.
All right, 7:42, Saban. Schreiber.
Here.
Bergbauer is absent. Galogly.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Lobes.
Here.
Bartleson.
Here?
Coretta.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, my friends, looking for a motion to have a consent agenda tonight.
So move.
Joanne, seconded by Renee, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so tonight we have a committee of the whole meeting minutes from November 20th, the regular city council meeting minutes from November 20th, our payroll period ending November 17th, our bills through November 26th, the abatement of the Jewel Cole LLC property tax and the Magenta LLC property tax, and an amendment to the easement agreement with Chevron. So we're looking for a motion to approve said consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Catherine? Seconded by Larry. May we have a roll call, please?
Saban. Yes. Schreiber.
Yes.
Bergbauer is absent. Galogly.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Lobes.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes?
Coretta.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, Lisa, looks like you're up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and the members of the council. First item I have in front of you is the 2019 property tax levy. We presented this a month ago, $6.7 million in the levy. This is the fifth year that we're expecting the tax rate to decrease, but of course we won't have the final numbers from the county until the springtime. So what I have in front of you is ordinance number 19-038 for approval.
All right, looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Darren?
Second.
Seconded by Joanne. Any questions?
No, I just think this is great, you know, in 6 years, we have lowered the tax rate from .9980 down to .8201. It's a 17.5% decrease in the tax rate, and that's pretty darn good.
Yep, I agree. Good work, crew.
Agreed, 100%.
All right, looking for a roll call.
Saban. Yes. Schreiber.
Yes.
Bergbauer is absent. Galogly.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Lobes.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Coretta.
No.
Motion passed.
All right, FN2.
Yes, thank you. The next item I have in front of you is the 2020 budget. Again, we presented this to council back in October, and then we had the public hearing in November, so we're looking for approval. I want to remind everybody that what we're looking at is a budget that's balanced from an operating perspective. It's a $59 million spend for the next year, of which $20 million is in capital projects. We're using excess reserves and the remaining bond funds of $5.7 million to be able to accomplish all the work that we're looking to have. And there's one full-time and one part-time new hire that's been included in that budget. So what we're looking for today is approval of ordinance number 19-037 for the 2020 budget.
All right, looking for a motion.
So moved.
Aaron?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Any thoughts, concerns? Do a roll call then, please.
Got it. Saban. Yes. Schreiber.
Yes.
Bergbauer is absent. Galogly.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Lobes.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes?
Coretta.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, I guess that's everything. Does our guest have something to say? Burning to say something back there, Ron? All right, man. Looking for, I know, maybe I shouldn't have invited that, yeah. All right, looking for a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
All right, we got, I think it was Joanne and Larry, all in favor?
Thank you.
Wow, look at the time.
All